Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is just deeply familiar and, let's be honest, highly frustrating. Picture this. It's pitch black, the house is completely silent, the whole world is fast asleep, and bam, your eyes just snap open. Your brain has suddenly decided to hit the power button. We call it the 2 a.m. panic. And understanding exactly why this happens is going to completely change the way you look at your own biology.
You know the feeling. It's 2 a.m. Your phone is face down right next to you, mostly because you swore to yourself you wouldn't check it tonight. But your mind starts doing that awful thing, right? Replaying some random conversation from 3 days ago that literally doesn't even matter anymore. You're just staring at the ceiling, completely trapped in this doom loop of anxiety, doing the mental math of exactly how many hours and minutes you have left until your alarm goes off. You feel exhausted, you feel broken, and worst of all, you feel like something in your brain is fundamentally malfunctioning.
So it brings us to this incredibly simple, yet deeply relatable question. Why are you awake? Why does your body just betray you like this when all you want, and obviously all you need, is a good night's rest? Well, I actually want you to sit with that feeling of failure for just a second, because I'm about to drop a massive historical plot twist on you.
I want you to hear this and really let it sink in. You are not broken. You are ancient. The real answer to your 2 a.m. panic is far stranger and honestly a whole lot more comforting than you might think. You see, for the vast majority of human history, waking up in the middle of the night wasn't a disorder at all. It wasn't insomnia, it wasn't some weird glitch, it was the actual biological plan.
When we contrast our past with our present, the difference is just staggering. There's this historian named Roger Eckert, and he spent years literally digging through diaries, court records, and old medical texts from pre-industrial Europe. And what he found blew everybody away. For centuries, ordinary people described their sleep not as one giant block, but in two very distinct chunks. They had a first sleep, which was followed by an hour or two of quiet wakefulness right in the dead of the night, and then a second sleep that carried them all the way until morning. Just compare that to what we expect today, that rigid, unbroken 8-hour block. So what did people actually do during that middle of the night window? Well, for starters, they absolutely did not panic. They weren't reaching for a melatonin gummy or aggressively turning on a white noise machine. Instead, they prayed. They talked quietly with their partner. They tended the fire. Get this, some people even left their beds to go visit neighbors. It was a known, expected, and honestly almost sacred part of the human night. Which brings us to a super fascinating biological puzzle. Why on earth would evolution build a species that wakes itself up on purpose? Right? Like if sleep is absolutely crucial for our survival and recovery, why would our bodies naturally interrupt it right in the middle? To really understand this, we have to kind of pull ourselves out of our modern temperature-controlled bedrooms and time travel back, say, 60,000 years. Picture where you would have been sleeping back then. There are no locked houses, there's definitely no home security system. You're part of a small group of maybe 20 humans, sleeping out in the open or maybe tucked into the mouth of a cave, huddled around a dying fire. And you are surrounded by animals in the pitch black that would very much like to eat you. In that specific environment, an unbroken 8 hours of deep, unhearing sleep, that could literally be the last mistake you ever make. Because of those predators, we developed a biological mechanism that's come to be known as the Watchman. The theory goes that this midnight waking wasn't a glitch at all. It was a highly effective, built-in biological check-in. It was a moment for your senses to just come back online, to scan the darkness, listen for rustling in the brush, confirm the fire was still burning and everyone was safe, before drifting under again. Your ancestors were essentially sleeping in shifts, waking briefly to check the perimeter, whether they consciously realized it or not. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, that's a really neat historical theory, but is there any modern hard scientific proof? Enter neuroscientist Jerome Siegel. Back in 2015, Siegel led a team to actually study modern hunter-gatherer communities, basically to see how humans sleep when they're entirely stripped of industrial life. We're talking no electricity, no clocks, and absolutely zero wellness influencers telling them the right way to rest. To figure this out, the researchers observed 3 distinct groups across the globe: the Hadza in Tanzania, the Sand in Namibia, and the Timene in Bolivia. Now, they went into this fully expecting to find these communities falling asleep the exact second the sun went down, getting that perfect, long, undisturbed night's rest that we're all constantly chasing. But no way. That is not what they found at all. These groups slept, on average, less than 7 hours a night. They didn't just pass out at sunset, they actually stayed up for hours in the dark, talking and telling stories. And critically, almost none of them slept in one continuous, unbroken block.
Waking briefly in the night wasn't some rare insomnia for them. It was completely normal. It was fundamentally human.
So when you map this out across human history, a really clear pattern emerges. For over 100,000 years, nights were long, dark, and mostly empty of stimulation. Your body naturally broke that 12 to 14-hour stretch of darkness into peaceful little pieces. But then, right in the late 1800s, a single invention arrived that changed everything: the light bulb. Suddenly, night was filled with light, then televisions, and eventually glowing screens in our hands. We artificially compressed our rest into one tight, 8-hour block squeezed somewhere between our last social media scroll and our morning alarm. Your ancestors' brains never got the memo about this massive change. And you know what? Neither has yours.
Anthropologist Carol Worthman, who has spent literally decades studying sleep across different cultures, really hits the nail on the head here. She says modern sleep expectations are actually the outlier in human history. The whole idea of sleeping in one long block, in total darkness, in total silence, that isn't the ancestral gold standard you're somehow failing to meet. It's a brand new, highly artificial target we just made up. Most human societies slept in shorter bursts, with plenty of noise and interruption.
Just think about the stark contrast between then and now. Historically, 2 a.m. was this tender, reflective time. Married couples talked. People remembered their dreams. They felt connected and spiritual because all that daytime noise was finally gone. But now, we immediately reach for our phones. We flood our eyes with blue light, literally tricking our brains into thinking it's daytime. We check work emails. We take an ancient window built for quiet reflection, and we actively turn it into a massive jolt of anxious stimulation. You are basically taking an ancient tool and using it the exact wrong way.
So what's the practical takeaway here? The next time your eyes snap open at 2 a.m., I want you to remember these steps. First off, do not reach for the light. Second, let the dark stay dark. Keep that blue light away. Third, just let your mind wander instead of doom scrolling. And fourth, if you have a partner, maybe just talk quietly. Give yourself permission to stop panicking. Your brain is literally just running ancient survival code, gently waking you up to check the perimeter just to make sure there are no wolves in the brush.
And that leaves us with this incredibly validating truth. You're not failing at sleep. You're just remembering how to do it. The very next time you find yourself awake in the silence of the night, I challenge you to embrace that ancient watchman inside your skull. Enjoy the peace of the dark, and just see what happens when you finally stop being afraid of your own biology. Actually, it kind of begs the question, right? What other malfunctions in our modern bodies are actually just ancient survival skills, waiting for us to understand them? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and sleep well.